Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Verdi's Rigoletto with conductor Carrie Lynn Wilson, which was live from Hannover's Maschpark. I was anticipating this particular radio transmission of Rigoletto because of the five principal players who sang the roles of Rigoletto, Il Duca di Mantova, Gilda, Sparafucile, and Maddalena, and those were Ludovic Tezier, Stephen Costello, Nadine Sierra, Franz Havlata, and Varduhi Abrahamian, and I'll gladly talk about them right now, starting off with our titular hero, Rigoletto, who was sung by Ludovic Tezier. Now, as I stated before, I have been following this particular baritone's career for quite some time. My first experience with him was hearing him as Il Conte d'Almaviva from a DVD production of Le Nozze di Figaro by Mozart. And as time went on, he went from singing a lot of the lyric baritone roles to slightly heavier roles like Enrico from Lucia dell'Amor, and even a lot more Verdian roles like Bosa from Don Carlo, and even recorded the role of Amonasro from Verdi's Aida alongside Jonas Kaufmann and Anya Harteros. And as I heard him sing Rigoletto, I was quite blown away. Yes, he is no Lawrence Tibbett, nor Leonard Warren, or Giuseppe Taddei, or even Peter Glossop, or even Cheryl Milnes, but what this gentleman had was really good musicianship, and he was a very meticulous singing actor. He was able to make Rigoletto come alive in his own special way. He didn't go too over the top nor too over theatrical with this particular character. He was just able to sing the part so well. There was not one vocal flaw Monsieur Tezier had, and I thought he did a very good job singing this particular role and giving it a lot of feeling, a lot of really great notes to add, and he was, simply put, a very fine singing actor. Then we have the Duke of Mantua, who was sung by Stephen Costello. I've also followed this particular tenor's career for quite some time. My first experience with him was when I was about 17 years old, and I first heard him sing Possente Amor Mi Chiama on YouTube when he also sang the high D at the very end. And from then on there, I knew this was a tenor I was going to have to follow, well, mainly his career for quite some time. And I certainly can tell that he had a wonderful future, and he seems to specialize in a lot of the lyric tenor roles. And what he brought out with the Duke was a suave persona and great musicianship, complete with wonderful and focused notes and a sort of dashing vocal presence that he was able to give with the Duke of Mantua. He sang all of his arias wonderfully, and even though he did not sing the high D at the end of Possente Amor Mi Chiama, all the rest of his arias and his scenes were exceptionally sung with a great technique, and he managed to really throw himself in the role of the Duke, making him quite dashing, quite brash, and most importantly, rather youthful, not only in voice, but also in presence. And we also have Nadine Sierra, who sang the role of Gilda, a role she has been singing for many times. Yes, she is no canary a la Madon Robin, Roberta Peters, Maddy Mesplé, or even let alone Nathalie Dessay, who never sang the entire role of Gilda, but ended up singing the duet with the Duke, and even recorded Caro Nome in a CD consisting of Italian arias. Yes, Nadine Sierra is not a canary singer, like those type of singers who would chirp out a lot of super high notes or would even do a lot of these really crazy coloratura. She's not really one of them, but what she offered to this particular role of Gilda was a lot of heart and a lot of fine lyricism, which she was able to bring out so well. And she was also a meticulous singing actress. How she managed to tease out certain passages in Caro Nome was quite the technical prowess. And what I also noticed about Stephen Costello's and Nadine Sierra's duet in El Sol del Anima is that they were also able to tease out certain passages where they could sing a cadenza together, which I found rather interesting, though it did kind of pad the duet. Not by too much, but probably by this much. But still, I have to say that Nadine Sierra did a fine job singing Gilda. And what I also noticed about her rendition of the storm scene is that before she knocks at the door to meet her cruel end, Nadine Sierra basically resorted to Sprechstimme before banging at the door, which I thought was rather interesting. So, for throwing herself into the role with great musicianship and an equally fine technique and a lot of great moments, I have to say that Nadine Sierra stood really tall in her own special way. We also have the treat of having the veteran bass baritone slash basso cantante slash basso profondo Franz Havlata, who sang the role of the assassin Sparafucile. I've also followed this particular gentleman's career for quite some time. I first heard him on YouTube singing the role of Papageno before he also ventured into roles like Osmin, Hans Sachs, and even Wozzeck. The fact that this gentleman could sing roles, whether they be comic like Papageno and even dramatic like Wozzeck, to the more basso parts like Hans Sachs, and even the basso profondo parts of Daland, Veit Hochner, and Osmin, is quite impressive. And he also specializes in a good amount of French and Italian roles, like Mephistopheles from Gounod's Faust, and his Verdian traverses to roles like Attila, Filippo II, Banco from Macbeth, and many other superb roles tailor-made for his voice. And he was able to make Sparfucile quite menacing and guttural when it came to how he delivered each and every line with this particular character. There were times I was kind of on the edge of my seat when I heard his voice. Yes, there are times that his voice didn't really sound like it was in its prime, but he was able to add in a lot of characterization, making Sparfucile quite menacing and a very dangerous character that you do not want to cross swords with. Yet there were also times that his diction kind of tended to be a little bit muddled, and there were times that he came in a bit too early, like when he sang A quel Zerbino. He sang it a bit too early, and before Maddalena could sing how she truly feels about the Duke, saying that, oh, he's a young man, there were certain words that he said that just felt like they were muddled, which I thought kind of sounded strange. But despite those little quirks, I have to say that Franz Havlata was very superb in his characterization, making Sparfucile properly fearsome, quite intimidating, and quite venomous as a character, and at the same time using his basso cantante slash basso profondo voice to the best of his abilities. He sang all the notes spot on, and he was able to make a great characterization of Sparfucile. Then we also go to Varduhi Abrahamian, a superb mezzo contralto who sang the role of Maddalena. She is absolutely fabulous in this particular role. I've also followed her career as she also specializes in a great amount of bel canto roles, whether they be Isabella from L'Italiana in Algeri, or even Arsace from Semiramide, or even the more femme fatale roles of Carmen from Bizet's Carmen, and even the contralto roles of Cornelia from Handel's Giulio Cesare. And what Madame Abrahamian had to offer as Maddalena was wonderful musicianship, complete with a smoky mezzo-soprano voice, which can be dramatic, and she seems to have a very fine future when it comes to singing slightly more dramatic mezzo roles. I would love to hear Madame Abrahamian sing roles like Dalila from Samson et Dalila, and maybe even Brangena from Wagner's Tristan und Isolde, and probably Clairon from Capriccio. Who knows? Time will tell if this wonderful mezzo will probably sing a lot more dramatic roles, because from what I can tell from her voice, she definitely has a fine timbre for those said roles, and I would probably feel so enticed when she would end up singing these roles. Oh, and especially Amneris. I would kind of like to hear her sing that role as well. And we also have such great singing from the likes of Martin Jan Niehoff's Monterone, who sang this particular role with a good amount of fierceness, even though his tone did sound a little bit on the woolly side. But despite the woolly tone, I have to give Mr. Niehoff a lot of credit for his fine characterization of this disgruntled nobleman, and a young mezzo by the name of Ya Jie Zhang, who sang the role of the nurse Giovanna. And I can definitely tell from Miss Zhang that she has a brilliant future. She has a voice with a lot of potential to sing a lot of these wonderful mezzo soprano roles, whether it be the likes of Carmen, or even that of Angelina from Cenerentola, or even Isabella from Italiana Jerry, or even the likes of Dalila. Only time will tell, and I'm sure that with enough growth and development, I can definitely see Miss Zhang fully blossom into a wonderful mezzo soprano. And we also have equally great singing from the likes of Georg Aperantz's lyrical and quite buffo y borsa, Matthias Winkler's dashing Marullo, Daniel Egart's sonorous and finely tuned Conte Ceprano, Anya Vegri's lyrical Contessa Ceprano, Marlena Gassner's boyish page boy, and Jung Soo Ko's handsomely sung Usher of the Court. So overall, the singing was really superb all around, and I have to give loads of kudos to Ludovic Tezier, Stephen Costello, Nadine Sierra, Franz Havlata, and Varduhi Abrahamian for jobs superbly done in their respective roles of Rigoletto, Il Duca di Mantova, Gilda, Sparafucile, and Maddalena. And the conducting done by Carrie Lynn Wilson was superb. She was quite the hard-working conductor, making sure that everyone from the orchestra to the chorus to the singers went together superbly, and it was a wonderful feast to my ears thanks to her masterful hands. And the chorus and orchestra did fine all throughout. So overall, with superb leading singers like Ludovic Tezier, Stephen Costello, Nadine Sierra, Franz Havlata, and Varduhi Abrahamian, and an equally great conductor like Carrie Lynn Wilson, this particular radio transmission of Rigoletto was superb. And for those of you who listened to the transmission, whether on radio or on television, what did you think of it? Did you feel like all five principal players held up superbly? Did you feel like one of them stole the show, or did you feel like they just didn't really hold up so well? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for my review of the Bayerische Staatsoper production of Tannhäuser, starring Klaus Florian Vogt in the titular role and Elena Pankratova singing the role of Venus. So until then, good night, everybody, and have a great summer.